I did not know that. Okay. Well, good morning. Good morning. I hope everyone's having a blessed morning. Um, how was the chapter? What did you guys think about it? You guys like it? That was a pretty good chapter. Everyone read it, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Heck yeah. Awesome. Well, this morning we are talking about in chapter 5 that connecting is more skill than natural talent. And I thought the title was very interesting just to start off because, in a sense, I've never really heard anyone say it that way, but I do agree with it completely because it's not anyone can have a natural talent to do stuff, but it still takes the time and effort to put into even speaking and being able to communicate with people to actually have the skill to build a relationship better and actually connect with your audience or whatever you're trying to do. But I did like the beginning of the chapter when he's talking about the different speakers he went to, and all the different people he thought, like, hey, like, I think it's nice that he doesn't mention their names just out of respect for them because he doesn't want to bring them down or anything. But I do like how he's talking about how, like, each one, just some of them just devoid of passion, some weren't very good at what they were doing, some didn't really, like express their feelings. They were monotone about stuff, like everything was just very dreary in a sense. Like it wasn't expressive or like actually like something that would bring your attention. And yeah, they had the one speaker who was talking about was a business book author who was just, they brought like an angry demeanor, which was like kind of like, all right, why are you angry at us? Like, what's going on, man? Like, we didn't do anything. We just came to listen to you. I thought it was really funny. But yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But from reading the chapter when he talked about the people who connected and didn't connect, what were some things that you guys believed that what did the people that connected with the audience do differently than the people that didn't connect? What do you guys think? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I remember they mentioned in the book. They were wondering if that person was like, was he really all there? Like, what was he talking? Does he know what he was doing? Like, I really thought that was cool because like each one was effective. Everyone who did connect was effective in their own way. Some were better at being effective by showing their passion. Some were better at being effective by just being able to actually show interest in people. And I thought that was really cool because the thing they did differently than the people that didn't connect was they came with excitement, they came with energy, they came to say, hey, we are out here to actually try to make a difference in a sense. And then the people that weren't connecting just came out to just do their job, like you said. They had lots of different ways of expressing different stuff, and the people that were effective in their areas that they were speaking in because they actually were interested in the areas they spoke in. Even though those other people weren't, like, they were very successful in what they did, they didn't seem to have as much interest in talking about it as the people who actually connected, which I thought was really cool. But communicating on the highest level. So, from what John shared about when he was attending the conferences, what were some things that you guys feel like you discovered when he talks about connecting with a crowd? What were some of the things you guys kind of realized that when he's talking about with different people he attended in the conference he was at and different people he listened to, what did he discover, or what did you guys discover necessarily? Not what he did, but what did you guys discover about connecting with the crowd? Yeah.
skill than natural talent.
Mm-hmm.
It taught me to a couple of things. To pull people in and make them feel comfortable. It goes back to it's all about them, it's
Yes.
all about the people.
Yes.
You know, it's not about yourself, so don't come in with the problems of the world on your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
If you just went through something, shake it off, come out and pull in. That's what I like about your dad. He does that.
Yeah, yeah.
He has joy when he gets the revelation and he jumps around. I love stuff like that. It just makes you feel like, okay, he's got it and we're getting it, and you can rejoice with him.
Amen.
So that is a good thing I learned. And the third thing is to know your facts. He studied.
Yes.
He knew what he had to teach on.
Yes.
So it didn't come across, okay, let me see and let me look this up.
Yeah.
Not prepared. So I learned that you have to be prepared. And
That's all. Yeah.
it's all
Yeah.
good. And
That's all very good. It's good because it is, like you said, like when you kind of read about from what he was saying and what he talked about from the conference and different people that spoke, you realize. I think one of the things I discovered when I was reading about it, about the connecting with people, is that it's possible for sure. Even if you have no skill whatsoever in teaching or no skill whatsoever in speaking or communicating with people, the possibility of learning how to do it is definitely there. You can definitely do it. It's not like it's something you can make hard, but like you said, preparation is where it's key to help you. When you can actually prepare yourself to build your own confidence, it's easier for you to discover how you can connect better with people because you're able to boost your confidence, you're preparing yourself, you're actually getting ready to do it, and then you go out and do it with excitement, with energy. As long as you're learning to be energetic and have excitement and actually see and show people that you're interested in the thing that you want to teach, it gets them excited because, like, hey, they actually love what they're teaching and they're doing it for us. They're not doing it for themselves, they're doing it for us. But here are I believe some of these listings were in the book from what I remember, but it talks about people who were non-connectors and people who are connectors, and these are 8 to 7 different things that are I put down that he does. Non-connectors, a lot of the non-connectors, especially the ones he mentioned in the conference, spoke in monotone voice, were totally devoid of passion and conviction. People who were non-connectors spoke for the duration of his segment and said absolutely nothing, which I thought was an interesting statement because they spoke their entire segment, and you would think, okay, well, since they spoke their entire segment, you're going to learn something. But he's stating here these people would speak their entire segment, and they would still say absolutely nothing of value, which can be very sad sometimes. Spoke down to the audience, make them feel like they weren't as capable as them, or that they couldn't do what they can do, which is very demeaning because then you're not doing it for them. You're not showing people that they're valued. You're just telling them, hey, like, look where I'm at, and you're not. Like, you're basically just making it seem like, hey, like, you're not as good as me, which is very demeaning. You don't want to do that to your audience. Even if you are, in a sense, better, you're not trying to make them feel demeaned. Like, you're not trying to make them feel down or worse about themselves or make it seem like they can't do it, because you want to make sure you give them the utter confidence to actually build themselves up, so they can see that the possibility of where that person's at, they can get there too. People who are not connectors came across as, I know something that you don't, once again, kind of gloating. Had an angry demeanor, which I thought was funny. That one made me laugh about that connector. I was like, man, he came with an angry demeanor? I was like, why is he getting angry while he's teaching? I'm confused. His body language, facial expressions, and language displayed a negative attitude. These are people who don't connect. And each of the speakers lost their audience by exhibiting these qualities and skills that contributed their ability to not connect. So all these things were all qualities of people who were just not able to connect, and because they weren't able to connect, they lost their audience. Now, the people who were connectors, they got the audience laughing while also thinking about questions. They were electric, meaning that you could feel what they felt. They came out with an energy, they had a passion for it. They moved the audience, creating the kind of feeling that makes you want to stand and cheer at the end. Right? You want everyone to come up, because then you feel in a sense that you're praiseworthy. You're like, hey, I actually did something for them, and because of that, they're thankful for it. You're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for the people. They used illustrations, first providing a logical statement and then backing it up with a powerful story. So not only were they just trying to use an illustration, They made sure they showed people like, hey, here's the statement, here's the story, here it is, this is how it's done, boom. And their idea was said, their thought was said, and everyone was like, whoa, that actually makes sense. That seems really interesting. They possessed a great sense of confidence, so strong that this speaker says she made every person in the audience feel like her best friend. So they made everyone feel individually like they cared about them. This speaker made everyone feel that way. This speaker made everything he talked about sound new so that you were actually learning something. So even if he knew something that you didn't, he didn't make it seem like he knew that thing just because you don't. He made it seem like, hey, this is something new. This is something interesting. I want you guys to think about it. So people actually were learning something from it. They were interested in what he was saying because not only did it sound like he was just discovering it too, the people he was speaking to were discovering it also. And then lastly, one of the connecting speakers put everyone at ease, giving them a sense of security by being confident in himself, and he made the audience feel confident and gave them hope. So those were the things that were people who showed that they were able to connect.
I also like that he stayed after and shook hands and
Yes,
hung out,
yeah.
because you get to talk to people and then you get to see, did they get it, didn't they get it?
Mhm.
You get to learn a lot about it.
Oh yeah, when you actually like personally go down and greet people and talk to people, that's why I think some of when we went to the conference that we went to get certified through John Maxwell, the conference we went to, it was really cool because John literally stands behind a booth and thousands of people will line up behind each other just to be able to shake his hand, have a brief conversation, get their book signed, and he shakes all of their hands. And he takes, well, you got to pay, but like still he's taking the time to actually like shake everyone's hand, sign a book even if you know, all that stuff. It's really, really cool. I mean, he has a certain amount of time because it's a lot of people, you know what I mean? But he does the best he can to connect with everyone because that's a lot of people. That would take up a lot of time to do. But he does his best to try and connect with as many people as he can while he's in his time frame because, you know, he has his people that help him schedule things and they have a time frame to get certain stuff done so they can get on with the rest of the conference after, you know, and so forth and so on. But it's really cool because people who are connecting clearly are people who are ecstatic. They want to connect. They're trying to make you feel like you are the individual they want to connect with. They make it seem more personal, you know? And so that's why I think this chapter was a pretty good chapter because I like that it's talking about that. Connecting is more of a skill. You know, it's not just a natural talent, it's more of a skill, and it's something that can be learned by all. Everyone can learn to connect. Everyone can learn to be ecstatic, energetic, have fun, make people laugh, enjoy themselves even when they're teaching. Because it's not just about having natural talent. It's about, even if you have that talent, take it, cultivate it, learn it, expand so that you can further the skill in connecting so that you can understand people.
You can also do that by, even in your everyday life,
Mm-hmm.
you can learn to practice that very thing
Yeah.
with people, but then if you're just around some small group of people, you can still practice that by, you know, for instance, I'm learning to do that.
Mm-hmm.
What I do, because there's someone over here and you're being watched all the time because
Yeah.
you're trying to see, well, what are they like that? And so if you learn to connect them all, so I'm connecting them all, you know, I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to connect with this person too. It's trying. But you know, even if just a small, there's 3 people in here, and she's not connecting with them,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm pulling something out of her to connect with them while they're connected with me too. I mean, it's kind of, in a sense, multitasking, you know, but find a way to connect with them, even if it's just a small, it could be just, you know, 3 people in one room, you know,
Yeah.
they're not connecting, but you're connecting.
Yeah, you're trying to reach out to them, get them all to. Yeah.
So it's so important, you know, because then what happens in the end,
Mm-hmm.
they're excited to see you.
Yeah. That's true, they are.
And I'm finding that out, you know, they're learning to, you know, oh, Sharon, what's up? Someone else, you know, but Sharon, what's up? Hey, come and let me pick out a color. Hey, help me out here, you know, but it's that, just pulling things together.
Oh yeah, when you're able to pull stuff together and you get people to understand each other and better further connect when you're just trying to bring everyone else to individually connect, it builds better communication in your group and to you, because then they see you as the person like, hey, you were the one that was getting us to all connect, and they bring that to you and they show you more respect to you and they listen to you, and then it connects better with them and to you when you're connecting with them. It's like you're just building the relationship, just keeps building, your communication with them gets better because they're starting to understand, like, hey, this person's really trying to get us all to connect. They're all trying to get us to communicate, and it works in tangent.
Where we all helping each other.
Amen.
You know what I learned? I brought it into the spirit. Just think of when we get a revelation knowledge from the Holy Spirit.
Oh, yeah.
And it's ours. It's tangible. We know it.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to share that testimony. We're going to say it a lot more than just hearing a teacher and repeating their words.
Yeah.
Or receiving it and living it ourselves. Now we could come across, okay, this is what the Lord did for me, and make it so personal that you make it like, okay, you can have this too. It's for me, but you can have this too. And the excitement's there because you lived it, you experienced it, and now it's yours. So it's a lot easier when you own it to speak something out than it is to just read from a book boringly or something. So I think it is a big difference in that. I learned that through that chapter.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good.
And I think that when you talk to people, there's a quality in each individual
Yeah.
that you can relate to, that you can like about that person. I don't care if it's a haircut, a color of a dress, or, you know, anything. And I think if you do that to every person you meet and appreciate the person, then that connection goes forward in so many ways.
That's very true. I think it's very interesting to see just how well people can communicate as a group when they actually start to engage, you know? When people are actually engaging, the group tends to understand each other better. Everyone starts to understand each other better. Communication becomes more broad. Energy levels go up, and everyone gets more excited because then when they see each other, they're all like, hey, how you doing? How are things going? And they start talking. They start getting engaged with different stuff. And then eventually these people, you know, they always tend to help each other out more often because their relationship builds and the communication tends to grow, right? But you guys remember so going on, it's no accident. Communicating with people is no accident. Jesse Giglio says, the greatest problem in communication is the illusion that it has been accomplished, which I found a very interesting statement, because basically it's showing that, like, you already feel like it's been accomplished already, but no, because like we said, it's not just a talent, it's a skill. You're learning to communicate. So just because you think it's already done doesn't mean you're done. Your communication, your relationship should constantly build. It should never seem that it's accomplished already. You should constantly build. But there are sometimes that there have been encounters when you assumed you were misunderstood, right? You were trying to communicate something and you thought the person wasn't hearing you properly, and because you assumed they weren't hearing you properly, something got misunderstood. And then even when they did hear you and they were trying to get something done, you switch it around because you thought they didn't understand what you were saying. So then your communication ends up displaying something different to them because they're like, wait, I thought you were trying to have this done. I heard you say this, and so I was getting that done, but how come you're changing it? And then you realize, oh my gosh, I did communicate to you properly and you did understand, but I thought you misunderstood and I took it the wrong way, and then this happened and you create problems. Like you said, because you start to create illusions that you thought something was being done, but it actually was not, because you assumed they didn't understand what you were saying. Everyone remembers the story between the Indian and the people that were coming in, right? You guys read that story, the Native American and the Indian? I thought that was hilarious. The little circle thing, they were talking about drawing a circle in the dust, and I like it because, so like, I'm gonna read the story just as a brief, you know, just to kind of reiterate it. Basically, it talks about that great communicators are not all cut from the same cloth. You know, Ralph Waldo Emerson says all great speakers were bad speakers first, right? So in this story, we talk the pioneers and the chief, Native American chief. They try to communicate with each other, and the rest of the pioneers ask their leader, hey, what happened? He's like, well, as you probably saw, we couldn't speak each other's language, so we used sign language, he said. He's like, I drew a circle in the dust with my finger to show that we're all one in this land. He lifted the circle and drew a line through it. He meant, of course, that there are two nations, ours and his, but I pointed my finger to the sky to indicate that we were all one under God. So he reached into his pouch to get an onion, which he gave to me. Naturally, I understood that it indicated the multiple layers of understanding available to everyone. Now, the story made me laugh super hard.
I love it on Audible.
Oh, yeah. To show him that I understood his meaning, I ate the onion. Then I reached into my coat and offered him an egg to show our goodwill, but he was too proud to accept my gift, so he just turned and walked away. Meanwhile, the chief walks back to his tribe, and he says, when we came face to face, we immediately knew that we did not speak the same tongue. So the man drew a circle in the dust. I know he meant that we were surrounded. And I was like, oh no. I drew a line through the circle to show him that we could cut them in half. Then he raised his finger in the sky as if to say that he could take us all by himself. And I was like, dude, this is the biggest misunderstanding ever. Then I gave him an onion to tell him that he would soon taste the bitter tears of defeat and death, but he ate the onion in defiance. Then he showed me the egg to tell me how fragile our position is. There must be others close by, so let's get out of here. Now, this made me laugh. I just started laughing when I read this story because I was like, they were trying to communicate, and both of them completely did not understand each other. The other person thought they were trying to get attacked and killed, while the other person thought they were saying, hey, we're just trying to share the land, and he thinks everything's fine, They just shook it off and everything's okay. It's like, no, man, they literally thought you were about to kill them, and you guys thought that you were about to not engage in battle. You completely misunderstood each other because neither one of you understood how to communicate properly, which I thought was hilarious. I read this story and I was like, wow, that is probably the biggest misunderstanding I've ever read. Like, there's tons of misunderstandings in history that I've read that I'm pretty sure probably are, a lot worse. But this, as a story in general, I was like, wow, that is a very good story. I thought it made me laugh. But it's the misunderstanding. These people didn't understand each other. They didn't know what to say. So, what makes people listen? How can you teach people to better communicate? Well, you must learn to communicate with others by making the most of whatever skills and experience you have. So even though both of them tried and they used whatever skills they could, they didn't understand. They could have probably found a better way to communicate if they were to try to put a little more effort into it and find ways they could. But neither one of them really put in the effort because they were just trying to get the conversation over with. They were like, hey, we're just coming together. Okay, this, yeah, sure. And then they just walked off. That was it. They completely misunderstood each other and they went their separate ways. They never worked out. You know what I mean? So you must make the most of whatever skills and experience you have. So when it comes to relationships, who you know. One of the quickest ways to gain credibility with a person or group is to borrow it from someone else who already has credibility with them. So just like the book talked about Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz, how did they benefit from this principle? Well, they benefited from the principle because what? They knew Oprah, right? And the story talks about how they knew Oprah, and because of their connection with Oprah, Oprah saw them as someone as credible, put them on their show, and then because Oprah put them on their show, people saw them as credible. So then they were able to become credible from her endorsement to them, which really helped them to build how financially stable and how influential they are in the world right now, because they were able to gain that credibility from someone who already had it. They borrowed it from that person to make it their own. So relationships matter. So who you know does matter. If you can get to know some people that have big credibility and you're trying to help yourself to build relationship to further yourself in the business world especially, or just in general, helping these people and building a relationship with these people who already have credibility can help them to be, hey, let me help you. And because of their credibility, it can give you credibility, right? Insight. What you know matters also. So what you know, when you have insight into something, it can help. So where is an area of expertise? If you shared it with others, you would give people reasons to respect you and develop a sense of connection with you. Well, I decided to put down something that was kind of interesting because clearly not everyone in here would be into games as much as I am. But in a sense, recently, which is really cool because I am very good at that world of things. I understand it very good. I enjoy it. people come to me when it comes to certain stuff, with some games that I play where I am better, that I can explain to them how, hey, here's some ways you can get better, here's some of this, here's advice for this, and this. And recently I'm in a community that these people recognize that my area of expertise when it comes to this certain thing, they want me to have a leadership position in this community to actually help people more and give them better advice. They want my expertise in certain things, and which I thought was really cool, because I was like, man, I've only known these people for 2 months now, but just because of how I show myself, how I talk, how I act, the way I say things, how I try to help people out, because I'm going out of my way to tell people like, hey, this, you can do it this way, you can do it this way, you can have this way, blah, 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 blah. I am explaining different things, and they see that and they understand that, and they see, hey, this person genuinely actually understands what they're doing, and they wanted me to be able to have a position to actually help them further, which I thought was cool, because not everyone enjoys, the gaming world or whatever, but it's not just that. It's also helping me to understand relationship, because I don't know these people, but I have built within 2 months of relationship enough between these people that I've never seen, just over a mic and just talking and playing games with them every now and then, just over a mic and just having conversation with them, getting to know them. They see me as someone who is credible in the game that I play, and they understand that I'm good at what I do, and they really enjoy my advice, and they think I'm very interesting, and because of that, they want me to be able to actually help them. So for me, I had insight on something that they didn't know, and because of my insight and my knowledge on certain things, they learned, and then their insight and their knowledge on certain things that they believe, which has helped me to understand how to better communicate with the community without actually seeing them face to face. I thought it was interesting, because I was like, hey, just over text, I'm learning how to better communicate with people through a community of just talking to multiple people at the same time and helping them to better understand how to connect with other people too. Like, we've had several people that are new now that have joined, that I've helped out a lot, and they ask me for advice. They'll be like, hey, so like, what about this? And then the people who are, like the leaders of that community, they talk to me like, hey, so how is this new person? How do they seem? Do they seem like someone that could fit in with the group? Like, are you doing this? I'm like, yes. They're actually really talkative. I got them to do this, blah, 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 blah. And it's really neat. So success, what you have done, in a sense, I have used my area of expertise to succeed in something that I know what I'm doing. Because people want to be successful, and they seek out others who have accomplished something to get their advice. So these people see that I'm doing something that they're not 100% sure how to do, but because they see that I can do it, they ask me how they can, and they seek my success in what I'm doing to get better advice to accomplish what they're trying to do. So just in a sense of this, when I'm teaching this, and when I'm trying to learn, and I'm reading this, and I'm trying to show you guys also what it means, and I'm trying to teach, I'm not saying that for sure when I'm teaching this that I know better than anyone that's in here. Some of you probably know way more than me when it comes to certain knowledge, especially my dad, and some of you guys I know for a fact know more than I do. But for people who are watching who probably don't know as much, it is good for me to show that, hey, does it look like I'm succeeding in what I'm teaching? And if I am, is there some way that you can see from my accomplishment of what I do, from what I do, that you can get advice to further your own success? Yes.
For a lot of, I'm not a gamer, but I've watched people in gaming.
Yeah.
And for older generation, they probably a lot of times don't relate to what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But I have seen that in gaming, how much communication and who takes the lead,
Yeah.
and who has humor, who has maliciousness, and
Yeah.
I'm amazed at
Oh yeah.
how much is
It's.
really going on in a younger generation.
I think
It's
that's.
fascinating.
Yeah. I think that's the one thing, because gaming is no longer. That's why I enjoy it, because gaming is no longer just for fun. It is now officially part of the business world of everything. There are people who own entire teams, gaming teams, that make millions, because these people create facilities, places for them to go and practice, to stream their stuff, to do this and do that. And because of that, they develop their own companies, their brand, hats, t-shirts, everything. They have their own everything. So it's no longer just people haven't turned it into just something that's fun. They turn it into a business, which I think is cool, because it's no longer just something that people got together just to play. It has now become something that people can actually connect. They can actually make money. They can make kids who really want to succeed in that field can actually have a chance to do that now. They truly do. Like literally a couple years ago, there was a tournament for some game that I thought was absolutely stupid, but some kid won $1 million just from winning this tournament, which I was like, wow, this stuff has become so business oriented that it's possible for people to actually put this stuff in the business world. So that's why I included that story personally with being able to join the community that I have now, because it has credibility in a sense that it shows that even just through talking, people can see, not even without even seeing you, just through talking, they can see how credible you are with certain things, understand your advice, your knowledge when it comes to certain stuff, and it helps you, because then you have an ability, which is what you can do.
And those people came up with a strategy
Mm-hmm.
We need to get all these people saved.
A lot of them, there are a good amount of them that actually are saved too.
Yeah.
Not everyone, but I know a lot of this world is different. But I definitely know, I know plenty of people I watch that do game that actually, this one guy I'm not going to mention on YouTube, every time he games, every time he finishes a video, he always does a sermon at the end of his video, like a short, like 5-minute thing. He reads a scripture, puts down some notes that he wrote down, and he learned from that scripture and talks about whatever he's learning from the Bible, and then he finishes his video, which I think is really unique, because this stuff is no longer just nothing. It is an actual platform where people can reach out to others and get people saved even through that platform. You can I'm not trying to make it a business or whatever, but you can go out of your way to, even through these things, still talk to people about Jesus, still talk to people about business, still talk to people about life, because it's not just a game anymore at this point. It's life. Some of these people, them playing these games and stuff, it is their business, it is their life, it is their ability. So, going on to ability, what you can do, people use their abilities to further connect with people. Sacrifice. Some of these people really do sacrifice their life. You can take a huge sacrifice when you're doing these things, because you don't get nothing from it, you'll get a lot from it. Some of these people, because sacrifice requires how you have lived. If you have made sacrifices to over tragedy or overcome obstacles, many people will relate to you. So when you're going through all these obstacles and you're trying to push through things, there are lots of speakers who will be vulnerable, right? Show their vulnerability when they speak, tell stories of times that they went through struggle, tell stories of times they had to sacrifice things and overcome stuff, and that will relate to people. By showing that you can sacrifice or showing that you have sacrificed things in your life, it shows that to other people that, hey, this person is vulnerable, I can relate to them, I'm interested in what they have to say because of it. So, moving on, the art of connecting. Charlie Wetzel talks about several key things that are the art to connecting. Before we move on to that, so remember, relationships, who you know, relationship can help you find credibility and push beyond what you already know. Having insight on certain things and expertise, what you know, where people are wanting to seek certain advice. If you have expertise in a certain area, people will seek that advice. And you'll be able to develop a sense of connection with those people because of it. Success, what you have done. People who seek to see what you've succeeded in will seek for your accomplishment and advice because you succeeded in what you've done, and because they want to do the same thing that you're doing. When they see that you succeeded, they'll come to you for that advice. So having success, what you have done, matters also. Having the ability to do it, what you're capable of doing, what you can do. Your ability to do these things can help connect with other people, because when you show them that you are capable of doing it, they're like, wow, well, if you're able to do this, further connect. Sacrifice, when people see you're vulnerable, how you've lived, it can help connect, and many people can relate with your sacrifice. So going to the art of connecting that Charles Witzel says, he's connecting with a live audience. His first key was possess great confidence. It is difficult to connect and enjoy speakers who are uncertain. If the person has no confidence in what they're speaking or what they're saying, it is very, very hard for them to actually connect with the audience that they're trying to connect with because it seems that they are uncertain in what they're saying. Exhibit authenticity. To connect with people, you must be yourself at your best. You must always be yourself at your best. Because when you're showing that you are you at the best that you can be, you're fulfilling what you're trying to do, you show a sense of authenticity to the people you're connecting with. It helps better connect them to you. Prepares thoroughly. You prepare by always be learning and researching. There's never a time when you are going out through your life, if there's something you're not learning, that's slightly learning new every day. If something just different, just even if it's kind of weird, there's not anything you can't do through your day to learn something new, whether it be something you're actually researching or whether it's something you're actually reading or whatever. You can always find ways to prepare and learn. So you must always prepare thoroughly. Utilize humor. Being funny, whether through a good joke or laughing at yourself, helps you connect with an audience. I thought this was a really cool key because I think humor is so much fun. It's always great to laugh. It's good to make a joke by yourself sometimes, like there's nothing wrong with kind of joking about a mistake you made, you know what I mean? Because it's just something that you look back on that you found funny. They're like, hey, that was just a brief mistake. Like, I didn't mean to make it, but it's kind of funny. And then you move on. It's always good to utilize that humor to be able to further connect with an audience. Focuses on others. You must find ways to create special moments and to honor other people. So when you're teaching, you must always find ways to create a special moment to honor other people, whether it be by helping them to further themselves or by asking them questions when you're, doing your stuff. Like when I'm speaking and stuff and I try to get some of you guys to get a little bit involved in answering questions, I wanted it to be something that's special to you guys so you feel like you're involved in what's being taught. So it's not just me teaching, it's also you guys being able to say what you think you're learning from what's being taught and what you're learning from the book so that I can further show how much more it matters to me that you guys are actually learning something. So you must find ways to always create special moments. That's a totally different slide. That's not even part of this lesson. Connecting one-on-one. John connects with people one-on-one by using intentional inclusion, which I thought this was really cool because he states in the book intentional inclusion, he calls it intentional inclusion, and he says he makes people feel welcome and wanted, and he invites them into experiences they might not otherwise have. So when I was reading through this example, I thought it was really cool because he talks about how the CEO of Auntie Anne's Pretzels wanted to meet the founder of Chick-fil-A. So he decided to give both of them a call, have them both come to the house to meet each other. He built a connection by doing that, and I thought that was awesome. When you want people to connect and someone else is talking about, hey, I've never met this person, or I heard you have this friend, they seem really interesting, so on and so on. Would it be cool if I got to meet them? And you just say yes. Invite them to both come somewhere at the same time while you're there so that they can build a relationship, because when you have multiple people to build a relationship, you can create an intentional zone for them to personally connect, because you're having that one-on-one with both of them. You're having both of them come to a sense of, hey, I'm trying to build connection, not just with you. I also want you to connect with each other so you can build your own personal one-on-one connection, which I thought was really cool. He got two huge people, CEOs and founders of major food companies, to just meet at his home because the other one wanted to see the other. And he was like, oh, you want to meet this person? Sure. Called the other person, brought him to the house, and boom, they're both there, and he built a connection for them, which is awesome. But what are some ways you can use intentional inclusion to increase your connection on one-on-one? What are some ways you can use intentional inclusion?
That was a question.
That's like activating the God working with God connection.
Yes.
Say, this is what I learned. This is the foundation that we have in this room.
Mhm.
Here, pretend we're not Christians, when we're just in the classroom, because obviously the first would be the Lord.
Yes.
Our connection. But now here's a foundation, and as much as you're wanting us to engage, we're engaging, so that builds a whole room of connecting. We're connecting, we're getting to know each other as we hear her story, our story, and that forms a whole atmosphere of connecting just by having the foundation.
Yeah.
And that brings unity in some sense of relating to one another.
Yes.
Yeah.
You must when you're using intentional inclusion is what they call it, to better increase your connection with some people, sometimes it's best to find something you both can find common ground for. When you can find something that is a common ground, it is easier to build a deeper connection with those people. And when you can find common ground with two different individuals, and you see that they both find common ground with that certain subject, you can get them together, they have that same common ground, and then they can help build a relationship also.
And just because they have different opinions about the foundation, you can glean from one another and learn from one another instead of saying, well, that's not how I see it, so yours is wrong.
Mhm.
You can glean the good,
Yeah.
and I think that makes for a better relationship and a better atmosphere anyway, to welcome one another, value
Yeah.
each other's opinions, and we all grow and learn differently anyway, so it is valid, I mean, it's valid to the person of how they see it, so.
Mhm. I agree. It's good to show that you can show value and to make everyone feel like their opinion can be expressed in a sense so that you can have better understanding and better communicate. Yeah. Connecting through written word. There are different ways. There are lots of different ways you connect with people. Like I said, when I just by speaking sometimes through a mic when I talk to people, you can also connect through written word, and that can just be through the book like we've been reading. This can connect. It's written down. It has lots of different stories in it, different things that are very interesting, intriguing, make you laugh, make you be like, oh, and then make you feel interested. You know what I mean? Just there are lots of different ways you can write. You can just write stuff down, just like I said, through text. There are different ways you connect. Sometimes people, they go through something and they may not want to answer a phone call, but because you're able to text something to them or send a message to them through some way, and you send your words through this message, they can feel your emotion if you can find a way to actually connect through that. Because some people, when they write things down to help a reader to feel like you're connecting, you have to find ways you can change your words when you're talking in person and then when you're messaging in person. Because when you message different things and you send stuff through a word, through just written words, it can help people to understand if you are actually able to change your words to them to show that you can connect personally without having to be there. Because if you can connect with people without action with that person, when you're in person, can be even greater when you can actually express the same words and emotion through your action and how you're saying it when you're there.
I think one of the big things in the story, the connecting, is he gave an example of the person who wrote for him. And the story he's giving is someone who actually is taking his material and writing the book. And he said sometimes John Maxwell will be speaking, but it might just be a 1 hour video, but he has to turn this, and then he has to literally, what is he actually saying? And you can tell that this guy really has the heartbeat of John Maxwell, but not only that, he knows what John Maxwell is trying to probe, and he knows what questions he's trying to get the people to ask themselves, and he knows how to build that. He makes sure that the same connection in the conference that John Maxwell has, that magic of connecting with people, is conveyed through his writing. So when you speak, it's like if I'm speaking, especially I'm connecting with the people while I'm speaking. But when you write something, it's like now you have to build that same connection through the writing. That the person goes, I can feel the person speaking. And that takes a while. You really have to really get to know that person and connect to their heartbeat and connect to that spirit. And that way you'll be able to know, now I know what he's trying to convey. Because we're going to see it from different perspectives, but we need to know what the person's going to go back. And so he really shares this in this chapter, 108, 109. I was listening on Audible as well, but I can tell through Audible, that's one of the things he was trying to do, is build that communication connection through writing. The same thing he does with the audience, but it's conveyed through writing.
Yeah.
Two different skills even.
Yeah.
It is two different skills. I think it is two different skills, because when you're trying to connect with people in person, the skill to take that connection and write it is different than the skill to communicate in person. Because to be able to communicate over a book, over writing, is much different. You have to be able to find words that can convey your emotion, your meaning, your reasoning behind it, why you feel that way, how you feel that way. You know what I mean? How you can convey, how to truly communicate with someone else through writing in a different way than how you would do it when you're in person. Yes, you can take the same principle as when you're connecting with someone in person, but that principle still has to change just slightly, because then your words need to be changed to further communicate what it means when you're actually writing stuff down. That's why I think it's really interesting that sometimes if I ever do give advice to try and help people out when I'm just texting them, I don't sit there and just type something. I take my time to thoroughly think about what word, how I could put it. I take the time to put little commas, quotation marks if I have to, period stuff. I make it seem like a real paragraph, because when I make it seem like, hey, this is how I'm conveying it, this is me saying it, it shows my emotion behind what I'm trying to say, to actually help them understand, because you have to change the way you write sometimes instead of the way you're always communicating. Like, you can say something in person, but the way you write it has to be different, in a sense. It doesn't have to be 100% different, but it's a different skill. It's still a different skill. But becoming a connecting communicator is also a process. So you must let it proceed. To better further yourself to become a connecting communicator, you must learn to just take the time, take the steps, find what steps you have to take to better connect with people. So to finish off, connecting with people at all levels, the connecting principle was connecting is more skilled than it is natural talent. And the key concept was the skills you learn to connect at one level can be used to start connecting at the next one also. So when you connect with one-on-one, you must have interest in a person, place value on the person, put his or her interests ahead of your own, and express gratitude to and for that certain person. When you're connecting in a group, you must show interest in each person in your group, place value on each person by pointing out his or her value to others in the group, make it your goal to add value to everyone in that group, and express your gratitude to each person in front of others, so everyone sees that you show gratitude to everyone. And then when you're connecting with an audience, meet and greet members of your audience before you speak, if possible. Make sure you prepare your talk because you value them, their person, and their time. So you're preparing your talk because you value them, their person, and their time. Put people first by letting them know you are there to serve them, and express gratitude and thank your audience for their time. So those are all the ways you connect with everyone on a different level, one-on-one, with your group, and with an audience. So make sure you guys are prepared for next week, and I hope you enjoyed this chapter. Amen.
Jesus. Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
What your dad was talking about, that falls under skill, would you think? Someone being able to relay, like say if you're the speaker,
Mhm.
you say to somebody, you're the writer, they actually have a skill in writing.
Mhm.
So now you want them to write what you have said. Does that fall under skill? The person has to be skilled, because obviously you can't do it from your own and how you're taking it. You're out of the picture, so you're trying to portray exactly
Yeah.
what the person is saying. So your opinion can't be in there if it doesn't agree. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? You just have to push that. down. So does that fall under skill?
It's more than just skill. It's skillful for them to take what he says and put it into writing in words that people understand what he's saying, but it's more than just skill, because this person understands John's heart. He understands his being, because he has his own personal connection with John. So because of his personal connection with John Maxwell, it makes it easier for him to convey what John is actually saying, because he understands John's heart and he knows what to do. So now, not only is he taking the skill to write what he writes, he's taking the skill to convey John's words and his emotion through how skillful he is in writing. So he's not just taking what John says. It takes more than just skill. I think there's some skill involved. There's some skill involved, but you have to understand John's heart to truly convey what he's saying. So yeah.
Okay, amen.
It's almost like revelation knowledge when you
Yeah.
read the word and you get the I get it. Okay, great.
Amen.
One thing I've learned about opinion is that, sorry, okay, so one thing from experience about